Hey, welcome, you guys. Mobile apps. I was just saying to myself, apparently, that excited about teaching mobile apps. This is one that the kids absolutely love to do, especially when you allow them to get their phones out and test their stuff too. And so they like to really see what's going on when they create something. And so we have a great workshop in line for you today. We've got a lot of people who are joining us. We've got a lot of people who are coming in. Welcome back. We see a lot of familiar names and sometimes faces. If you let us see your face, we get to see some familiar faces also. So we're going to kind of get settled in here. Want to just real quickly welcome you guys. My name is Joni. I'm one of the PD specialists here at CodeHS. And we have Portia is with us today. She's going to be assisting in answering a lot of questions, dropping a lot of things into chat for you. So make sure you find your chat window and get that opened up, because we're going to have a lot of stuff that we're going to throw into there. So make sure that you're ready to be able to receive all of those links that we put out there. And as soon as we get settled down a little bit, we're going to start in on giving you the links to the slides and for your attendance and just all kinds of things. But we're going to let everyone get in, as many people, because no one gets to see the post chat posts. So we're going to let everyone settle in. As you're coming in, just to let you know, Julia is with us today. She's actually going to be the one that's going to be teaching you guys today and sharing a lot of great information with you. Julia is one of the PD specialists here at CodeHS right now. And she's going to join us here after we get all the administrative side down, and we're going to let her tell you a little bit about herself when she starts to talk to you. So let's just let you guys hop into chat, and what we would like you to do is just introduce yourselves. Tell us what you teach. Tell us if you have used CodeHS before, so that we kind of get an idea of who we're talking to. And then, do you have any experience teaching mobile apps? Just give us a little bit of background. Are you getting ready to teach it? Have you taught it before? Does it just sound really cool and you're not teaching it at all, so you're just learning it for yourself? Whatever you're doing, throw that into chat. And we'd love to know where you are from too. Lori, some of you are very familiar with Lori. Lori is actually keeping track of all the places that people are joining us from. And it is amazing to see where we're getting people from all over the world, not just the United States here. So if you would just throw into chat, let us know your name, where you're from, what you teach. Do you know anything about CodeHS, and what about mobile apps? So Lisa, welcome. Lisa's coming to us, it looks like, from Georgia. Welcome. I'm getting ready to go to Georgia next week to meet with some teachers there. So I'm super excited about going to Georgia next week. Hi, Daniel. Got Dan from Wisconsin. All right. Been using CodeHS for 2 years. Awesome. Yay. And Joanne, welcome. We got you. You're coming to us from Iowa. Got some people. We got Southern California. Nice. Welcome, Jana. Teaching coding and engineering. That's awesome. Wow, we've got tons of people coming in now. See if I can catch Albuquerque, New Mexico. My husband just got back from a little missions trip in New Mexico. So that's awesome. Beautiful place. So welcome. Jennifer's coming to us from North Mac High in Verdon, Illinois. Okay, welcome. We've got some Wisconsin. Christina, you're coming with us with engineering and computer science. Nice, in Miami. I bet it's a little warm down there today. I am coming to you from Indiana. It's warm here, so I know it's got to be warm in Miami too. We've got one of our very humid days out there today. So got North Reading. Great. Business Ed and Apps Creator. Haven't used CodeHS. Linda, welcome. I think that you are going to be so excited with seeing everything that we have here at CodeHS to help you with your mobile apps and just with all kinds of curriculum in general. So once you get familiar with this, I think you're going to love what you see. We have someone who is at Maryland. You're coming to us from Michigan. You teach beginning programming at Michigan State. Nice. And you've used CodeHS for some outreach on some middle school and high school. CodeHS is awesome. We have so many small little curriculum pieces too. Hour of Code, short courses that you can use. So it's not just for full year courses we have, and not just mobile apps. We have run the whole gamut of courses that we have available here at CodeHS. All right. So thank you guys for sharing. We have so many different places that we've got people coming from. Want to welcome each and every one of you. We're excited to be able to be with you today and share with you everything about mobile apps. Moving on, let's get the slides shared out to you guys. If you would like to just sit back and watch, that's fine. If you would like to bring the slides up, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to codehs.com/mobile apps-slides. And Portia just put that into the chat. So if you click on it in the chat, that will take you directly to your slides, and you will have access to those when we get done here too. So you can just keep them open. So if you do want to go back and look at those, you have the ability to be able to do that. If you open those up, follow along with us on the slides. Also, we have a parking lot. This is a really big group, and we want to be able to answer any of your questions that you might have. And I tell you, we really want you to use the parking lot for your questions. In the chat, things kind of seem to get lost because everyone's, throwing different things in there. And so before we can get to it, before we can answer it, we kind of lose where it's at. So if you have a question, the question parking lot is what we are going to ask you to use. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to this document that you have the ability to be able to type in. Just give us your name, state the question that you have, and then we will come over here, and on the right-hand side, we'll answer that. And that way everyone can see the answers to your questions. And then also, if we're going to answer it live, okay, it looks like, Portia, you want to take care of that? It looks like the slides don't have access. Okay, we'll get that slides taken care of, and we'll go back to that, and you guys can click on that again. So with the questions parking lot, I am going to make sure that we have this set up right now. Yep, you can edit that. So you are good to come in here and write within that. If we're going to answer it live, if it's something that we think that Julia should answer for everyone, she's the expert when it comes to the mobile apps course. What we will do is we will just put that we're going to answer that live, and you'll know that at the end we're going to address that, or sometime we'll address that question live. We also have the link to the slides in there too, and a lot of different links that you can get to eventually also. Okay, so if you come back, let's go back to here. These are your slides. Did we get the slides working now? Can I get a thumbs up from somebody? Yes, okay, I see a couple. Awesome. Okay, so your slides are good to go. We'll throw that link back in there because I know we did have a few people join. So Portia will definitely put that link back in there also. So we've got the slides, the questions, and while you guys are working at getting those up and going, just a real quick overview of what our agenda is for the day. We already did the quick introductions and check-ins. We're going to make sure that you have an account and get you enrolled in our workshop section so that you can actually see everything that is in the mobile apps course. You'll be able to see that right through the workshop section today and follow along and work on some things and review some and explore some. So we're going to be using that workshop. So you're going to want to make sure that you get into that workshop today. We're going to give you an overview of the course, and then Julia's going to take you through a full sample mobile apps lesson. And so she's going to go through it and show you what a lesson looks like for that. She'll do a little lesson debrief at the end. And then at the top of the hour, we should have enough time to take a little bit of a break, give you guys a break. And then after that, you are going to see a deep dive and a discussion on the apps course. And so we'll have a breakout room at that point in time for you guys to have some discussion and get some more information about that. Then we also are going to have a breakout session at the end that gives you the opportunity to choose from 2 different places that you're going to be able to go. One is going to be a curriculum chat. And so if you want to talk a little bit about the curriculum, get more information, that breakout room is where you're going to be able to ask any questions that you have of Julia. She'll go over a little bit of more information for you on that. And if you would prefer, you can stay in the main session, and we're going to be, I'm going to take you through customizing your course. So, what can you do with your course to bring your own content in? How can you change up the course itself? Because all of our courses, you can change yourself and make them what you want. You can add to, you can delete, you can rearrange, and you'll learn how to do that. And then at the end, we'll have a little Q&A and a wrap up. And we would love it if you would stick around to the end and be able to fill out the survey for us. We'd love to get your feedback. And that's super important for us to get your feedback on the workshop. Okay, so let's make sure that everyone has a account. So you can sign up for a free teacher account if you don't have one through codehs.com/sign up. Now, if you already have an account, just log in. Just log into your CodeHS at this point in time. We're going to give you a minute to get logged in. Log into your regular CodeHS account. If you don't have one, go to codehs.com/sign up, and that will allow you to sign up. Make sure you say that you are a teacher. Now, you won't be verified as a teacher right away. You will go through a little verification to show that you're a teacher, but you will be able to get to everything that we need to today. But when you very first start out, you are going to want to sign up as a teacher. So if you have not done that, if you are having any problems, now is an appropriate time to go into chat and just throw in, if you're having any questions about getting into the course, go ahead and throw that question in there. We'll make sure everyone's getting signed in and signed up. Now, the next link that I'm going to give you is going to be the link to the workshop itself, and it will enroll you into the course as a student. And I'm going to show you here in just a second what you're going to be looking for. Once you have an account, now make sure you have an account first or this isn't going to work. So make sure that you have signed up with codehs.com/sign up, answer those few little questions. Make sure you sign up as a teacher first. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to this link, which is codehs.com/go/4710A. Now, Portia has also put that into chat. Make sure that you're signed into CodeHS first, makes it go way more smoothly. Then click on this link. The link can also be found in the questions parking lot. That's the join the mobile app section right here. So you can click on that link. And what that's going to do is it's going to take you as a student to the workshop section. So for those of you who are familiar and have used your teacher account before, there is a toggle on the left-hand side. For those of you who are new, you also need to see this, okay? Don't forget that you are getting into this as a student. So on the left-hand side, once you get in, you're going to go to student. It's going to give you all the workshops that you may be enrolled into or the courses that you may be enrolled into as a student. And if you take a look, I've got a bunch of them, but if you take a look, you will find the one for today. I'm not in it as a student, so you're not going to see it, but you're going to look for the mobile apps workshop. And when you click on that, that's going to take you to the workshop section itself. Okay. So what we've done is we've signed up using sign up, codehs.com/sign up. And then you're going into the workshop section and you will be a student. So you'll want to toggle as a student to be able to see that. And I'm just going to go here and make sure that we are getting some people in. And great, it looks like that we're getting some people into it. Okay, now from this point on, if you're having any issues, if you would go to the question parking lot, put those into there and we can help you at any given time also. Portia just put that into the chat. Okay, so for today, to get your attendance and to be able to get your certificate of attendance, you can go to codehs.com/mobileapps-attend. It's also in your question parking lot, and it's also in the chat itself. So go into chat, make sure that you just click on that link. Now, when you click on that link, it's going to do pretty much absolutely nothing. It'll give you a little thing that says, thank you, but basically all it does is it just marks in, you were here, it lets us take attendance, and then we will be sending out those certificates shortly after the workshop. Okay, again, make sure all your questions are coming into the question parking lot. Portia has put that in. It's about 3 posts in the chat above where you are. And I think that we are ready for Julia. Julia, are you there?
Yeah, I am ready to go.
Awesome. I am going to stop sharing my screen, allow you to share your screen. And so I am excited for you to meet Julia and hear everything that she has to tell you all about mobile apps. Julia.
All right. Hey, everyone. So this is actually probably the 3rd or 4th summer that I have led this session on mobile apps. And every year the course grows, it gets improved. I actually was working on this course 3 years ago, have built it out a lot more as the years have gone, as we've gotten feedback. So this is one of my favorite courses. And I'm going to give you just an overview of it. We're going to run through a sample lesson so you can see how students are going to interact with the course. And then we're going to look at all the projects. So one of the things about this mobile apps course that is my favorite is that there are so many projects embedded throughout the course. So you've probably taught courses where, you teach a certain amount of content and then you do a project, right? One standalone project, then you go and then you do another project. But I think it's really important for students to see that the content they learned in lesson 1 isn't just lesson 1 and then we leave it alone, right? All of these things are adding on to each other. So the projects are going to add on to each other. So you'll see here on this slide, this football scorekeeper app that students are going to build, I think throughout the entire course. They build it like the layout in lesson 1, and then they'll build the, the touch interaction in lesson 2. So they're constantly able to improve that app. And this one actually isn't even a follow the lines kind of project. They are going to have the option to choose whatever sport or event they are interested in. So that we have some examples, but this is going to be a project they are going to be using throughout the entire course. And we're going to take a deeper look at all of those projects and how those work in the second half of our session today. But in general, the main things you need to know about this course, I saw a lot of people sorry, my dogs are very excited today. So I saw a lot of people who have used either App Inventor or Swift to develop apps before. We use a framework called React Native, which is really awesome because it allows our apps that we build to run on both Android and Apple devices. No matter what device the student has, they can see their app on their own device. And we're going to see how they can do that in just a minute. So we have 2 versions of this course. You can teach it in a year-long course, which is going to include a lot more projects and content, or you can use the semester-long version that we have suggested for you, or you can customize this course however you want. So we'll learn a little bit more about that with Joni in our second half of our session. But there are some suggested prereqs for this course because the mobile apps course is a little bit higher level. So the React Native framework is going to use JavaScript, but also these thoughts and concepts that we learn in HTML and CSS. So it is really helpful if students have both experience with JavaScript and with HTML and CSS. So for the JavaScript prereq, we have 2 courses already that would be more than enough information that then they would need so that they feel prepared to take this. So if they have taken CSP in JavaScript or our intro course in JavaScript, they would be all set with that. And then for HTML and CSS, we also have a web design course. But if it has been a while since they've taken these, we have all these review material, the different lessons that they need picked and put into supplemental. And also, I'll show you that a little bit later when we dive into the CodeHS version. But this is something that is really helpful. If a student is comfortable with other programming languages and the way that programs run, but they didn't specifically use JavaScript, they probably still can, work it out. So your students, but this is just what we would suggest for the most success for your students. So overall, the course looks a little bit like this. So we have about 14 units, and then we have a final also in there. We have all of these lessons in blue are the projects that we suggest at the end of the quarters. So even though it looks like there might be a little bit more content in the beginning, the information that they're learning is a little bit easier at the beginning, obviously, so it will be a little bit quicker for them to go through. Towards the end, they're doing a lot more creative projects and things that they are excited about, so that will take them a little bit longer on the end. But we're going to dive into those projects later. Right now, I want to look at how we can run these on a phone. So this is totally optional, but this in the course itself, there is a way for students, any program that they write, or even an example that we show, they can go onto their phone, download this Expo Go app, and you can get that from the App Store or the Google Play Store. And I think we dropped in the chat the link that shows you the directions that are in the course. So as students go through the course, they're going to get to a point where you're going to be with them and say, okay, now everyone, let's download this on whatever device you're using. And it is cool to have different size devices as well, because we want to show them responsive design and how something that is designed for a tiny little phone should also work on an iPad. So having different devices and sizes in your classroom would be really helpful. And if you would like to try, if you've downloaded this, you can open your camera. You don't need to go into the app. Once you have it on your phone, if you open the camera and you scan your QR code, it will say open with Expo, and you should see a special little app that we developed for you. I'll give you just a minute to go through that, and then I'll show you how it works on mine.
For some reason, it's saying no usable data. Sorry.
No usable data. Did you just download the app?
Well,
did you have it?
I'm scanning the QR code. That's what the QR code. Yeah.
Did you already download the app?
No, I did not. So I need to download.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So even though you're not actually opening it in the app, you just need to have the app on your phone, because that's what runs the QR code.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, and it's really good to go through these things yourself, because this is obviously what's going to happen in your classroom. You'll have a lot of kids that say that. So, all right, I'm going to hop over and show you. So on my phone, I scanned the QR code, and you probably can't see it super well, especially with my fancy blur background. But you have an app that I developed very quickly in our site. And at the end of, I'll show you where you can find this QR code on the CodeHS site. But this exists for every single app that they are going to make. So that is a really cool way for them to see what they're making. And it is really an important piece for them to see it on the emulator on the site, as well as on an actual device and on multiple size devices. So we're going to keep going, but you have these slides, so you can try this yourself a little bit later. All right, so we're going to hop into a sample lesson. The lesson that we're going to go into is Unit 2, Lesson 3. So the students have already gone through in Lesson 1, like, what is React Native? Why do we use it? Why would we use this rather than a different way to build apps. And they've downloaded Expo, they've learned all of those things. They've also learned a little bit about the layouts and the components. But I think this is a good place for us to jump in. If you are, wondering like, well, when did we learn how to make this rectangle? That comes in the lessons before in the before our 2.3. But I think we should all be set to hop in here. So I'm going to put on my teacher hat, and I'm going to hop right in and get started. So welcome, class. Today we are going to learn about styling our view components on our screens. So we're going to start with this quick do now. So I have this Snapchat screen. Some of you have probably seen it before. And I am telling you that my screen has a height of 700 pixels and a width of 100 pixels. So can someone in the chat tell me what would be the width of the yellow box in my layout? Woo! Okay, so we said we have a width of 100. So the width of the yellow box is 100. Awesome. All right. What about the height of the yellow box? And this might have to be a little bit of an approximation. Awesome. I see a lot of people approximating that it's probably 500 pixels, right? The whole screen is 700. The yellow box does not take up the whole screen. So if we're saying that the yellow box has a height of 500 pixels, what would be the height of the red box in this scenario? Awesome. I see the red box would have a height of 100 because if my screen has a height of 700, the red box and the blue box are the same size, the same height. So those would each be 100 to add up to a total height of 700. Awesome. And I know maybe this is a little bit mathy for you, but we're going to have to think about these things when we are laying different objects out on our screens. So what if now I got a Pro, right? Now I got an iPhone Pro. So my height is now 1400 pixels and the width is 300. So now what do we think the height of the yellow box could be? Use some math skills here. Awesome. Yeah. So if we say the height of the yellow box is 1,000, then the height of the blue box becomes what? Awesome. 200. So if the blue and the red box are each 200, the yellow box is 1,000. That will give us a total height of 1,400. Awesome job. So this, we want to keep these things in mind as we look at how we're going to add these different components to our screens, and we're going to think about their size. All right, so we have looked at how our view components look in our code, but let's just do a little review. So here we have two view components. We can see view style here, which is the parent view, and that is the container style, right? That's what holds all of the things inside of our screen. And then inside that tag, inside our view style for the container, we have the child view, right? It's inside of the container is box 1. So we can have multiple boxes or multiple components inside another component, right? So here we have the container, which is the parent holding everything. And then we have two different items, two different boxes inside of that container view. So in our program, this is what we might have. Two boxes, box 1 might be blue, box 2 might be red. And we can see that the container is completely around. That's the entire screen, right? That's what holds everything in. Box 1 is just that blue part, and box 2 is just that red part, which is all inside of the container. Now, when we style the actual images that we have, so this blue box, the way that we make it blue and the way that we set the height and the width is in that style sheet. So we said in our program, box 1 and box 2 were the style. So in our style sheet is where we say what that style is. We can see in box 1, the height is 150 and the width is 50. It's a tall, skinny blue rectangle. And we can change those values to make our shapes fit our needs, right? So we have, in this case, our two boxes. We have a few ways to lay them out, right? If we just say that our two boxes are inside our container, and we're going to talk about flex a lot later, so ignore that part for now. But inside our container, we are just saying we have our two boxes, right? But what if we want to lay those boxes out in a certain way? Well, we have some ways that we can style our objects. If we use align items and we set that to center, that's going to put our objects horizontally along the x-axis in the center. And we have another way that we can center objects, because we might not only want to horizontally center them, right? So justify content is how we're going to change the way that our objects are along the y-axis, the vertical axis. So we're going to jump in and take a look at how we can use these attributes inside our programs. Let's take a look at that now. All right. So first, here we have an example, and this is in your course, so you can go and check this out later if you would like. We have our objects here running in our emulator, and we have our program here. Right here is our view component. So we have our container view, which in this case we have set to light blue, right? We can see the container is light blue, which means the entire screen is light blue here. We have a tall view, which is inside our container, and we can see that that is blue, has a height and a width of 200. So we have that big blue square. And we have short view below it, which has a height and a width of 100 and is green. So we have two objects on our screen. Now, what would happen? How could I make another object in between these objects? Does anyone know? You can either put in the chat or you can raise your hand. How could we add another object in between the blue and the green objects on our screen? Awesome. Add another view box. Perfect. And if I want it to be between my objects, I'm going to have to add it here. Now, I can do a few different things. Let's show a few shortcuts here. So I can highlight this and copy and paste. That's an option. That will make a second tall view object. I could just change it to short view if I wanted it to be that, right? If I run this, I have two green ones. There's no space between, so it looks like one tall green one, right? I have two objects here. There's another way. I could just type it, but there's a lot of syntax here. We can use our components tab, which is really awesome for our mobile apps course. If we want to add a view component, we can click and drag that view component in. It will automatically tell us that it's container, but all I have to do is change it to the style that I want. And I will have those two views there. So there's a bunch of different ways for me to add objects inside our code. So this is how we added an object after, right? All of these objects are one after another. Blue box, green box, green box. What if I want this green box to be on top of my blue box? How could I do that? Yep, so Jana, the code is running top to bottom. Sorry, I'm like shifting between having the chat open and not. So we have the tall view first. The container is on the outside. The tall view, short view are inside, top to bottom. So how could I add the green box on top of the blue box? This is kind of a crazy thing. Think about where my tall and short view, so move the code above the blue. So let's see if that works. If I take this and I bring it up here, let's see what happens. So now I have green, blue, green, but oh, maybe that is what you thought I meant. I mean, I want the green like layered on top of the blue. So this works great. for the green to come first? Perfect. What if I want the green box like layered on top of the blue? Think about how our container and our short and tall views are laid out. Smaller box in the other color. So I think what you're trying to say is take this view and instead of having them next to each other, put it inside. Now I have my tall view and my short view that are inside my container, and I have another short view inside the tall view. So when I run this, we have the green that's layered on top of the blue, right? So the container isn't the only thing that holds objects. Another object can hold a separate object. And we're going to use this a lot when we want to use text, but like on top of a shape. So this is going to be something we're going to use all the time. So we're going to play around with how we can add these different objects on top of each other and next to each other and all of that. But let's hop over to another example where we're going to look at those the ways to center or change the layout of some objects. So here in this example, we have our container. It's white. It's just the screen, right? We have a top box, middle box, bottom box, one after another. And we have a justify content centered for our objects. So in the container, it's saying all of these boxes are centered along the y-axis. I want my boxes to be completely in the center of the screen. So instead of just using justify content center, I'm going to also add align items center. And now I'm going to be able to have my boxes centered in the Y and the X axis, right? So justify content is centering it in the Y, aligning items is centering it in the X. Awesome. Center is not the only option though, which is kind of cool. So if I say center, it will take all the objects and put them right in the center. But I have some other options that I can use. There's an option called space around, and let's see what that does. Now I use space around in the justify content attribute. So I'm saying each object in the container, I want there to be space around that object. And I could change this and say space between, between, and that will only add space between the objects. So there's no space on the top or the bottom of the objects. And we could do these for align items as well, and that would change the left to right, the x-axis of the objects. So I want you to play around a little bit with those. Let's hop back over here. All right, so we went through these, basically these three examples: height and width, justifying content, and aligning items. We looked at those. I want you to try the rainbow background exercise, but I'm going to hop over before you do that and show you where you can find all of these things. So in your view of the mobile apps course, you're going to see this summer workshop. This is where we're going to be. And then the rest of this is just the rest of the course. So you can go through the entire course here, but we're just going to focus here. There's a lot of resources in this first lesson, but we don't need those right now. We are in our styling view components. So we went through the information. If you need to revisit the information that we learned, you can go into that video. We skipped this quiz, but if you want to go and check yourself, you can go in and hop there. Height and width, justifying content, and aligning items. Those are the examples we just went through. So if you forgot how something worked, hop back over there and you can check those out. But I want you to focus for maybe just like about 3 minutes. Get started on this rainbow background exercise, and then we're gonna hop back in and come back together as a group. So you're gonna be working on the rainbow background exercise. And if you have any questions, throw them in the chat or throw them in the parking lot and we will help you out. We'll come back together at 12:45. All right. Hopefully you were able to take a quick look at that exercise. I know you probably didn't complete it, but you can always go back and keep working. So now we're going to take a look at a few more examples. I want you to explore these with a group. So we are going to drop this link in the chat, and there's going to be a folder with eight different worksheets. They're the same worksheet. You're going to use the worksheet that matches the number on your breakout room. But I want you, with your breakout group, to look at the worksheet, see the examples, take a look at those questions. You may not have time to go through those. I'm only going to give you about 5 minutes, but I want you to just explore that worksheet together, discuss a little bit about how that could be useful. And then if you also want to take a look with your group at the next exercise, which is nested views. So you just did the rainbow background exercise. These two next examples, flex direction and checkerboard, are going to be explored with that worksheet. And then the nested views exercise, you can take a look at and try to see how you could go about completing that. And we'll come back together probably in about 5 minutes, because I want to make sure we can get to the rest of our awesome content. So we're going to set those breakout rooms up, and we have that link to the handouts in the, okay, awesome, thank you. In the chat, we dropped that link. So we'll set up our breakout rooms, and then we'll give you a little timer letting you know when it's time to come back, but it will only be about 5 minutes. So make sure you take a quick look at all of those things. Portia, are we all ready with our rooms? It looks like we're getting there. All right. All right. I know that was a really quick. Oh, sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I'm glad that you guys were having some good conversations. Sorry that was so quick, but I do want to take a deeper dive into some of these pieces. So the last part of our lesson here is showing you your homework. So you'll see after the nested views, you have an article in there, which is a worksheet, and that is going to, no problem if you weren't able to complete the exercise. You'll just have to do it for homework. So you're going to have that styling views handout in your course, so you can take a look at that, and that is going to be your homework sheet for today. All right, so I'm taking my teacher hat off. That was our lesson on styling views. And I know that all of those, working through the examples and the exercises and the worksheets and all of that, we went through very quickly, but I just wanted you to see some of those options that we have. So in the case of this lesson, I chose to teach through the slide deck. So in your course, in all of our courses, the lesson information is given in a video, but the slide deck is also available for you to teach on your own through that content in the way that you think is best for your students. You could have students watch this either by themselves in class, or you can have them watch it before they come to class, so they already have a little bit of information. You can watch the video all together and pause at different spots and ask those clarifying questions, make sure students are understanding. So lots of different ways to go through that. For the examples, I chose to do 2 of these things because this lesson had so many examples, because we were kind of learning a lot of content. We needed to practice with a lot of these things. So there are a lot of teachers who like to start with just a blank editor and then write one of the examples step by step with the students. We kind of did that a little bit. We explored it as a class and we said, okay, how can I do this? How can I make this change? What do you think I would need to do? You can also have a student come up and type in the different view components, type in the ways that the attributes that will change that layout of your design. That worksheet that you hopefully got to take a quick look at. I know that it was really short and we were having a little bit of issues with that, but that worksheet, I literally just took from the lesson plan, and I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But that is a way to have students sit together. A lot of people say, you know, programming seems very individualized. It does not have to be, and it shouldn't be. So having students work through these things together and saying, okay, what happens when you do this, right? A lot of times, if you just give them the examples and you say, look at it and play around, they're just going to say, oh, cool, I saw it, and then go to the next one because they want to start writing their code. But if you give them specific directions to say, okay, try this, now what happened? That's a way to make sure that they're really exploring those and getting the information out of it that you need to prepare them to go into those exercises. So I had you look at one of the exercises individually. Then I had, hopefully, you know, you would be able to, after going through that example with your same group, say, okay, how can we apply that information and put it into an exercise and write this new program? So that is another option. Or using pair programming, where one student is the driver and is actually at the computer, and the other student is helping to direct, and then you can switch those roles. So there's a lot of ways to have those exercises be completed in a way that students are not feeling so individualized. Christina, good question. I'm going to come back to this when we look at our lesson plan, but there are lots of worksheets and things like that in a lot of our courses. I'll show you where to find those. So the last thing for the lesson opener and closer, I use this do now activity, which was the Snapchat layout. And then we used this handout as a homework, but there are discussion questions. You could use that video quiz as a way to either start the class or end the class as an exit ticket. Lots of options there. So let's dive into that. I really love our lesson plan. So and on mobile apps, I've done a lot of work there. So okay, I am going to close the chat for just a second so I can see everything. Okay, so in our summer workshop, we're going to look at the lesson plan for this styling view components. And there's a lot of ways to find this. If you don't know how to find your lesson plans, there are a bunch of different options, but I'm just going to show you my favorite way. And lesson plans are a pro feature. So I did see some of you have been using free, some of you have been using pro. So you may not have seen these before, but the first, I think, 10 lesson plans are available on free as well. So even if you don't have pro and you're like, I just want to see how this is even laid out, you should be able to access those first 10 lessons. So if you go to anywhere in the course, but I'm going to go to this specific one, you'll see for this lesson, there's this icon right here, lesson plan, and you'll see those for each lesson, right? So this is how you're going to access that lesson plan, and we are going to hop into it. Okay, so the lesson plan is going to give so much information here, and you'll see how my lesson that we just went through came directly from this. So we have our objectives, our overviews, and all of the activities, direct links, how to get right to the slides. If you want to give paper quizzes, that's an option as well. And you'll see there are little buttons to let you know what's pro and free, but we can talk about that a little bit later as well. This homework worksheet isn't in the course. Like, this is an option for a teacher to add. If you are interested in finding out how did we get this into the CodeHS course, ask Joni during that customizing session that she's going to do in just a bit. That is definitely really helpful to know how to add those in. But that is something that you can add any items into any part of your course. We have solution references, and this is available for everyone. So if you want to know what is the answer to this, I cannot figure it out. You can go right there and have those solution references. One really cool thing that I've heard a teacher do is print all of these solution references and put them in a binder and leave it at the front of the room and tell the students, if you're really struggling, you're allowed to come up and look at the solution, but you can't take the binder back to your seat. So they can see, they can get a little bit of information. They can see the answer right there, but they have to, I think the important thing is they're not allowed to bring their phone to take a picture of it. But seeing that might help them just like trigger, this view component has to go inside here, right? So there's a bunch of ways to use those solution references, but I thought that was a really cool and creative way that I've heard a teacher use those. Problem guides are a pro feature, and they dive in a little bit deeper. So if you're like, I know the solution, but I'm like a little bit nervous about bringing this to my students, how do I feel a little bit more comfortable? We're going to hop into one of those because they're really awesome. So this is for the rainbow background, the one that you all took a look at. It just gives the description, right? This is what students see, the directions, the motivation. Why do we want students to do this, right? What are we trying to get them to learn? So that's there. The solution. So all of this is available for everyone. But then we have these common questions. So we have, what are like some of the things that we expect students to struggle with? And how do I already make sure that I'm prepared to answer those? So those are really helpful. And then this is the most awesome thing that just got added. We have on some of our lessons, this explain this to me. And our was there a question? Okay. This explain this to me section is made by our curriculum developers, going through step by step, how do you build this program? Now, again, this doesn't exist for every exercise right now, because this is a feature that has just started out. But I love this. I think this is really, really helpful to make you feel so comfortable bringing this to your students. The important thing is that there is a password up here that you're going to have to enter when you go into to actually view the video. And this is to make sure that students cannot access this information, right? We don't want students to be able to watch this video that just says, this is exactly how to do it. So you're going to have to enter that password. And that is something that, sometimes gets a little mixed, a little forgotten about. So that's our problem guides. Let's hop back to our lesson plan. Then we're at handouts. So someone was asking about those handouts that we used, right? That do now, that Snapchat do now is already here written if you would like to have it as a piece of paper for a student to use right when they come into your class. The styling views handout that I use as the homework is right here. And we have student views and teacher views of everything. The teacher view is going to give the all the answers and any information that you will need in addition. So these are really helpful, and handouts are in every single one of our courses has handouts. Different lessons have different amounts, right? Some of the earlier lessons might have a bunch of handouts because there are so many additional things that could help students. Maybe some of those higher level lessons may only have one, but I would definitely check this out, especially a lot of our pro users don't even know that this is here. So this is something I would definitely check when you're thinking about bringing your lessons to your students. There's usually a lot of really good information here. And then the meat and bones of our lesson. So any notes that are good to think about before you start figuring out what you're going to do with your kids. Then teaching and learning strategies in here. Here's an option for you to use of how to open your class. Here's a bunch of the activities that we're going to go through and some additional information. So you'll notice that handout that we used in the examples section, which was going through the examples and asked you a bunch of questions, that's not here, but that's taken exactly from this section. So it says here, explore this example. And these are some of those questions that you could ask the kids. Okay, change this and see how this affects this. You could ask them verbally as you're going through the example together. You could have this on a worksheet like I just typed up quickly from these questions. Lots of different options for how you can use these questions here for the examples. And then we have some closer options. Anything students should already know before they get started. So, if your kid's absent, knowing what they need to be successful is really important. We have the video slides, and then we have even more discussion questions, just in general, to get them focused at the beginning of class and to wrap everything up at the end of class. And here's some sample questions as well as sample answers. We have some modifications there as well. So this lesson plan has so much information, and the goal is to just make your life easier, right? I mean, you have so much on your plate. I have now been an engineering teacher and a physics teacher, and it is the most demanding job possible. Our goal is to give you as much of that as we can so that you don't have to spend your time building all of this extra stuff. Does anyone have any questions? I know I just went like crazy through all of that. I get super excited about this course. How are we feeling? Can we see the lesson plans if we're on a student? So you have to be a teacher in the course to see those lesson plans. So you're gonna have to enroll, like create a section of that, and you'll be able to see all of those. That's a good thing to ask Joni in that customizing time, where she can go through and just show you quickly how to get to all of that information.
And hey, you guys, Julia, hang on a second, just to let you guys know that even if you're on the free account, you get the first 5 lessons plans. I believe you don't get all of them, but even if you're on the free account, which we have like half of our PD specialists on our team worked on free accounts their whole time. And so if you take those lesson plans, even if you're on a free account and you take a look at those lesson plans, you start to get the idea of how the lessons are laid out, some of the things that they do. So we want to provide you guys at least a little bit of support as far as the lesson plans go. Once you get the first 5 lessons going, then you should be able to kind of run with it at that point. So just to let you know that you do have access to some of the lesson plans, even if you're on the free. And yeah, when we go into the customizing, I will show you real quickly how to make your own little course, because all of our courses, curriculum, it's all free. The curriculum is actually all free. And so you guys can just make your mobile apps course, and then we'll learn how to make modifications to it in that session.
Awesome. So we're going to take maybe just like 2 minutes. Go grab some water if you need. At 1:10, we're going to come back. Oh, sorry, 1:10. I'm on the East Coast. So at 10 after, we are going to come back, and we're going to dive into those projects that I talked about a little bit before. So go take a short break, and we'll start back at 10 after. All right, awesome. So we are going to take a look at all of the projects that are in this course. So we're going to start with those quarterly projects. These are projects that come at the end of a few lessons, and students are going to build one app that is going to do one specific thing using that information. So we have one of these in Unit 5, which is our suggested project for quarter 1. We have one in Unit 9, which is for quarter 2, and Unit 12 and 14 is for 3 and 4. So let's take a look at those. The first project is recreate a popular app. So this is lesson 5, and you'll see it's going to step through a bunch of ways for students to actually plan their app before they just jump right in and go, because that's how they're going to want to start. It's going to give them some examples, some options. So let's just take a look here. It will give them all of the options for the project, as well as all the requirements. So here it's telling them, look, we've already looked at a bunch of these popular apps that you might use. We want to create a project, create an app that remakes the layout of one of the screens of our app. Because at this point, we only know how to make one screen, and we do know some buttons, some text, that kind of stuff. So students are going to talk a little bit about what their app is going to do. They're going to plan it. They're going to learn about how they're going to add images if they would like, and then put their app in and reflect on it as well. So in this project, they're going to just be looking at the layout of one of the apps that they use, one screen from one app, right? So we looked at that Snapchat screen, and we're actually going to dive into that a little bit more as well. In quarter two, they know a little bit more about the functionality. So they're going to build a currency converter app, and they're going to be able to create some sort of app that will actually take a value and change it depending on what currency they are using. So this is going to include a lot more functionality, but they're still going to have to use all of that information they learned about just the layout of the apps. So this is an example for them. They are going to have options of how to make it more difficult. What are the main things they need? And then things that they should think about before they actually start typing, right? In quarter three, they're going to build an image feed app. So this is similar to an Instagram kind of app, which is really pretty tricky. But they are going to be able to add in however much functionality they would like, adding in new posts, right? Having your feed. You could have a comment section. So there's a lot of ways for them to add extra levels depending on where they are. And again, things that they should think about before, and a way for them to start planning before they dive in. For our final end of course app build, this is where they are able to build whatever they want, whatever they're excited about. And this is why this is pretty much most of the quarter. I think there's one higher level piece of content that they learn to just get one last thing that they can get inspired by. And then they're going to build this app for the majority of the end of the year, because it's going to take a while. They're going to have multiple screens. They're going to have a lot of functionality between different pieces of their app. So they're going to plan, code, and then we also have included a presentation. And again, this is our suggestion. This is the course that we've built, but you can customize this. So if you want to do this presentation another way, you can take that out, or you can move it around. So there's a lot of different ways for you to make this your own. But we've given students a way for them to structure their planning before they actually dive into these pretty large projects. So all of these projects will take, I would say, between a week and a few weeks. The end of course app builds could take a few months, depending on how much they want to include into those. Then we have our projects, I just want to check the chat, that are throughout the course. So I was saying before that, having just these projects at the end kind of makes it seem like, oh, we learned this, now we're just applying this. But these apps can get more and more, we can build more and more to them as we learn more things throughout the units. So these 3 apps, you'll notice the Scorekeeper one, which we saw an example of at the beginning, the Snapchat and the Venmo all start in unit 2. So right at the beginning, they're just making the layouts of these apps. They're not doing anything. It's just putting some text, putting some objects on the screen, making it look the way that it should. And throughout the whole course, they're going to see that app come back, and they're going to add, okay, now we learned buttons. Now make this button work. Now we know how to make this interact with different pages. Now include those. This ClassPass one is a little bit more advanced, so that doesn't come up until lesson 10. But let's take a look at those. So the Scorekeeper, this is just when it gets introduced, right? And again, this is just the example. So they are going to have the option, I think right in the next one, where they are going to choose their own sport and just make the layout of their design. For the Snapchat one, they're going to create that screen that we saw before. Now you'll notice that little ghost, which is the Snapchat logo, isn't included because we didn't learn about images yet. But once we learn images, they're going to come back to this and add that image in. Then once we learn about buttons, they're going to be able to click the login and the sign up. Same with our Venmo. So they right now are just making it, it's just text that says 20, no matter what, right? Our balance is always 20, but they're going to be able to find ways to make this app actually interact and use those buttons. And here's our ClassPass one as well. They're going to build their app where they're going to be able to sign up for different gym classes, and they can add in whatever they want here. So I really love these projects that are throughout the course, because they're learning that it's not just let's build this one thing and make it do everything, right? It starts with the layout. It starts with making it look pretty, making it look nice, making it user friendly, and then adding in those different pieces as we learn them. So I think we do have time for you to have a little chat. So I know that you guys went into breakout rooms, but it was 5 minutes. It was real quick. I want you to be able to chat a little bit more. I know that some people have taught some type of mobile apps course. Some people are brand new to this. Some of you have been using CodeHS for a while. Some of you have not. So thinking about these projects, here's a couple questions that you can think about and discuss with your groups. You can also just chat with each other about your experiences with mobile apps or with CodeHS. And, talking to other teachers is so helpful. So we're going to give you, what do we think? 10 minutes, 12 minutes? It will be 30 after. Okay. So at the half hour, we're going to come back. So we're going to put you into some breakout rooms. Just have some chats. If you are like not really feeling it right now, that is totally cool. You can stay on mute and you can just explore the course for a little bit. There's a lot of things to look at. We've shared a lot of stuff. So I'm going to stop talking. You're going to have a little bit of time together to chat with each other and let me know how I'm excited to hear how it goes.